Okay, I'm going to reconvene our meeting, 8 o'clock. We asked Patrick Coyle from, is it 118 Burnett Street? Why don't you come up and join us over here?
I can put a chair here, because I want to show you.
Why don't you sit over there? It'll be easier. We're on TV, just see.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. I apologize. Well, actually, we're right on time for you, but this is a gentleman that we issued an enforcement order to at the last meeting, and actually, Dan actually issued it. Now that we're here in a posted session, first thing I need to do is ratify that enforcement order. So is there a motion to ratify that enforcement order?
I'll move to ratify the enforcement order.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. All right, so Mr. Coyle called me the other evening and, or other afternoon, and described his activity at his site. And so I asked him to come in and with some photographs and talk to the board about what it is that he's been doing over there with the tree cutting and what he proposes to do, and bring some photos in so you could see. Some of us have been to the site, but,
Yeah, I left those pictures from Darlene's yard across the pond, because I figured you guys have been at the water thing, you've seen that. But the first picture I got is probably the most important one, because you see where the beavers, they chewed up all the trees over the last 5 to 10 years. And that's what's in the pond. But then you've got, see, that's why I wanted to stand in front of you. There's plenty of trees down.
Should we just pass them around?
Yeah, you might as
one
well.
at a time.
I wrote on the back of some of them.
Wow.
Yeah, that's, and what happened was, the growth of all the green grew up so high that I couldn't take any pictures of the beavers, how they bit them up to a thing.
so this damage here is from a beaver?
Yes. And that's not even behind my yard. That's behind the number 3 Magna Vista. Behind my yard, the trees are down. And here's,
This come down in one of the storms, the one that's broken halfway up.
I believe so. And that falls into the pond. Like that one there.
So the bottom line is what I got from the conversation with Mr. Coyle was that a lot of the trees that he's been cutting have been trees that came down because
Two
of,
of the same.
after the
Let me see
beaver,
some of the ones I wrote on.
the beaver dam has been breached, but the tree damage occurred because of the flooding of the trees.
These are some that your neighbor brought in, just to show.
Yeah, those are the same ones I got. Now see how the
Yeah.
trees are falling in? There's nothing being thrown in there because I
Yeah.
burn wood. I've burnt wood for 17 years.
Okay. I guess her concern
But
was
I've
that,
had a lot of trouble with these neighbors, not just me, everybody has. And the problem is, if it's the neighbor who I think it is, which you guys probably can't tell me, she,
We don't really want to get into
I know.
You know, we just
but
want
her
to,
husband asked me to cut up this tree here. It's a big stump right there, and there's 4 trees coming out of it. And he asked me to cut that up, but then his wife turns around and turns me in. Thank God I never did it. But that's in back of her house, and that's what I mean. Now here's where the pond goes down. See, it says, well, water runs on the back, and it's all overgrown.
Yeah, it looks like a wetland area.
Now, that's not behind my house, that's further down. That's where I put my kindling on the bank and heading up towards my house. See, nothing's near the pond. Well,
Now, is where all the cut wood is shown in these photos, is that in a wetland area?
oh, no. See, my land was completely dry until the beavers came and killed off all my trees. Then when they broke the dam, my land went back to being dry again. The pond is over here.
but the damage was already done to the tree roots by then.
Yeah, the
From the
trees had
flooding.
fallen.
Right.
So all I thought I was doing was helping clean up, like, here's, now she says twigs are going through and all. That's where Mr. Woods had a little walkway, about a foot path long time ago. The beavers, with their water, made it 14 feet wide and destroyed the little walkway. And that's all that's going through, so I can't see how she's saying anything's going down because there's nothing going down. There's another tree in the water.
Excuse me.
Now she says somebody says I've been down there. And this is the overgrowth, and I haven't been down there since May cutting up the trees. And that's how it all looks down there at the bottom of my yard by the pond.
So your contention is, I just want to make sure I got this
Here's
straight.
some more that broke.
Mr. Coyle, you're saying that you haven't done any cutting since May?
I've done cutting, but up on the top.
Okay.
Up on, it's about over 150 feet from the water. It's up on the banking, because if you look at my yard, you'll see I've cleared out an area between me and number 1 Magna Vista. These are just the same as that last one. And here's one that's about to fall, dead tree on the back. More small branches and trees in the pond from beavers here too. Yeah, some of these have stuff written on the back, like that one in your left hand.
Now, the trees you're taking down, did you say
I ain't
that's...
taking down, they're down.
This
Or okay.
wash down.
And there's
from
more
his
down,
name.
but I haven't done a thing since I got that letter,
High.
because I haven't done a thing in 2 months anyways, but I did do the ones up above, which are, if you came by my house, you'd see, they're quite far away from the pond. I asked Ed, and Ed didn't want him because the leaves fall in his yard anyways.
Who's that, your neighbor?
Ed got that, yeah. He's at 1. Now here's my kindling. I've got loads and loads of this. It's on my bank and on my side. It's about probably 30, 40 feet from the water. It starts from the first oak tree by my picnic table and goes up to the top because I burn all my wood. I've
That's
been
a
doing it
brush
for 23 years. Here's some more trees in the water, it says in the back.
I think it was that one.
Here's a tree about to fall into the pond, another one on the back.
Dead trees in the pond.
So basically, you're not cutting any trees?
No, if you look,
that
there's,
have-
there's one right here in the pond.
Upside down, what
I know you gotta, you
are you
gotta
doing? It goes
turn
this
it.
way, I think. That's the sky.
Except that's the water.
Yeah, it's upside
Huh?
down. That's
Reflection
the
in
way.
the water.
Oh, tricked me.
Believe me, I've had my troubles. That one's just a tree that's sitting in the water. See, I was pulling some of them out, but I haven't done anything in 2 months, and now I haven't done anything at all. Here's some more from that one that's down the
Well, I mean,
ways.
situations like this, you have a scenario where that you may have something that doesn't look nice visually, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a valid, that you can really go and pull stuff out or cut stuff near the water, etc. I don't know if that's become part of
See,
this
here's some more of my
situation.
kindling. Kindling on land away from water, other side of paths. There's a path between the kindling and the water too. It runs all the way around the pond. Well, it's a bit of a path. There's more on my side of the kindling.
Damaged trees
You
there.
see, I took a lot of the kindling because that's what I was told was the problem. And it's all on my side. There's none in the water at all.
Well, I guess isn't one of the questions it's whether it's being stored in the buffer zone? Isn't
Yes.
that one of the
Now,
questions
what is
here?
the buffer zone? I'm sorry.
100 feet from...
100 feet from the edge of the
I'm sure it is,
wetland.
but that's only because I cut it up and I haven't moved it because I was cutting it up. See, because here's another dead one.
Let me ask you a
Top
question,
over the
Mr.
water.
Coyle. Is this
Yes, ma'am.
something that's going to be going on, this is going to be going on over a long period of time?
No.
Or is it something that can be
Well, I
finished
can
up in a short
remedy
period of
this.
time?
I would rather remedy it, I can get all the stuff that's cut up from there, up above. But I don't want to cut any more down there until at least the fall because I don't really want to play with the poison ivy. I don't look like very good with poison ivy.
I don't think anyone would, but, you know, what I'm thinking, just for myself, we could consider using the enforcement order as a vehicle by which to remedy the situation. And
I can
put
pull.
forth under the enforcement order conditions upon which he is to, if you're going to allow him to cut the trees, or you want him to take the stuff away from the buffer zone, the kindling and all that, we could use the enforcement order as a vehicle to accomplish that, if that's something the board...
Well, I mean, if you've got material that's already down,
Yes.
Right.
but it seems to me that regardless of whether it's a visual issue, anything that's still standing that's in the buffer zone, you can't just cut.
Okay.
You
I have to
know.
wait for them to fall?
Well, basically, I mean, just something being an eyesore isn't a good enough. It's
Well, no,
done.
but the thing is, if he's gonna cut trees to burn in his wood stove, then that's something, it's his property. If he wants to file, you know.
But if you'd have to file if it's in the buffer zone.
But I'm just trying to think, let's look at this from two issues. Right now, we've got an issue with several trees, lots of them, that have fallen over due to either weather or
Beavers.
because of the beavers with the flooding issue. the water receded, the trees are damaged, the roots are damaged, they've fallen over. So he wants to clean up that. Agreed?
Well, that was one of my reasons, and the other one was because kids walk by a lot around that pond. And with those trees, as you see them hanging down, I was doing it for safety also.
Right, not unlike the neighbor who came to us to cut down trees for safety issues, if you recall. I'm just trying to think, if we could clean up the activity that's going on now without a filing, to include the trees that are down,
That's all.
that need to be cut up and gotten rid of now, and to get that kindling pile out of the buffer zone, if that's something the board wanted to
That's
do.
gonna be hard.
Clean up
I'll do
that, let me just finish. Clean up that portion under the enforcement order. And then if you've got a longer range project that you need to do with more cutting, then maybe you need to file a request for determination of applicability.
Okay, another question I had was, if you agree with that, as I'm cleaning it up, do you want me to rope the ones that are in the water and pull them out? I can leave them out, then they'll dry. I don't know if you can burn them. I don't know anything about wet wood. But if it's going down, they can't be going down. They're too heavy. They're real big pieces.
No, I think the argument from the neighbor has been that you leave tree branches piled up next to the brook, and that during storm events, they wash down the stream and clog up behind their property, causing a flooding issue on their property.
That's where the beaver dam was behind their property. They flooded everything, but that's all right.
I mean, if there are fallen trees and they're snapped off and they're leaning into the water, he would then have to file because then you're working right at the water's edge.
So
Correct?
was the neighbor.
Right.
And they're not, where they broke is maybe 10 feet from the water. So if I cut them here, the sawdust would fall below me, and then I could pull them out of the pond so that they wouldn't be in the pond.
Well, right, but it's still the issue that it's work going on in the buffer zone. It's still within 100 foot of
Yeah.
water's edge, wetland, it's still all,
That works for everything. then, huh?
completely
'Cause I've been
within the buffer
keeping
zone.
my kindling there forever.
Right, but we did allow Magna Vista to do a similar type thing by hand, and they were also within the buffer, and we told them, and from what I understand from the discussion that was, 3 meetings ago, DEP said that we had discretion. The board did have discretion up to a certain number of trees if we were comfortable with that, as long as there's no power equipment, any of that nonsense going on in the area.
And the stumps are left intact.
So if we can do this through if I'm understanding the enforcement order to place conditions on you, that will avoid having to file,
But it can't
and
be,
it will still,
but DEP had said not more than 7 trees.
no.
well, and then also the storage of the materials in the buffer zone can't continue.
Right.
No, I'll move it
What's
out.
there has to, and anything, I don't know what the rule
But you
is
can order,
exactly.
you can order that through the enforcement order.
Yes.
And he's indicated a willingness to remove it. I'm just thinking, let him clean up what he's got, get that out, and then when he needs to cut more trees, or he's gonna cut more trees,
Because I
file
did
it.
that 23 years ago, Mr. Woods, I don't know if any of you knew him, Darlene's father. He told me, he was my next door neighbor, he told me, because I wanted to fill in a big deep hole. So he had me come here in front of you, people that were here then, and have a permission to get those haystacks or bales put all along the water.
Yeah.
See, that's why I was surprised that this is illegal, because I thought that was all it was because when I dumped the dirt, he spread it out with his trucks and all, and we had the permission, the people came and saw that I had the
But that was
hay there.
many years ago.
No, but I just didn't know that now nothing can go in that area.
Well, it sounds like we might have a consensus to allow a certain number of trees to be cut in the area and move the kindling, is that correct? Outside of the buffer zone?
Well, I have about 4 trees that are, like you saw, broken. If you want me to cut them, or you want me to just wait till the fall.
Well, I think, given our history with the neighbor, I would, I can't make a motion, but perhaps you would consider allowing not more than 7 trees to be pulled out by hand, with the stumps to remain intact. Remember, that was a condition too.
I'll
And-
leave the stumps.
And that and the kindling be removed from the buffer zone.
Madam Chair, I will make that motion that we issue that order as stated.
I'll second that.
Okay, is there any other discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. All right, we'll put that in writing for you. And then if you're going to be doing work beyond that, you're going to need to file a request for determination of
Okay, so
applicability.
as of right now, I'm removing under the tallest grass and all. I'll get all the wood out of there, the kindling out of there, and the trees that are hanging, or wait on them, or
4 trees.
just 4?
Four
Okay.
trees.
4?
4 trees.
Okay.
Now, what about the ones,
7.
what about the ones in the pond? Should I leave them, or try to get
I
them
would,
out?
are they,
They're
Are
in,
you
some of
saying
them
four
are
trees?
almost totally
I'm saying
submerged,
4 trees. He said there were 4 trees currently.
that are ready to fall, but there's some laying in the pond. I didn't know if you wanted me to get them out of there. I was just
How
gonna
many
do it
more
for-
are
How many
in the
more?
pond?
Oh, I don't know, they're in the pictures, there's quite a few of them. Some of them are like real big, and some of them are tiny little, because the beavers didn't care. They just,
I would suggest that he file for those if
all right, so I'll leave this, I'll leave
like
them
it's
there.
more of a project than
Right.
what we did
All
under
right.
the limit.
So you're
you
gonna
have
clean up
4
the
that have
4.
fallen.
clean up the 4 that have fallen, and you're gonna remove the kindling from the buffer zone?
Yes.
Okay.
Debris from the buffer
And,
zone.
yeah, so we'll
Yeah,
put
it'll
that
all
in.
be
All
up
right.
on the top of the bank.
So we'll put that in writing, and anything beyond that, you're gonna file for a permit from us.
Oh, yeah, definitely, because I was
Right.
quite surprised to see these things. I don't like
And-
having anything like this, so.
Just
I'll
so,
come-
just so you know, for future reference, yard waste in the buffer zone is also, we've had ongoing issues that covers grass clippings, leaves. They can't be deposited in the buffer zone. So
Okay.
it's not just, you know,
When the
limbs,
trees are
wood,
falling, I'm not
etc.
gonna have many leaves left anyways. I mean, it's
No,
just-
but if you, when you cut your
Yeah,
lawn,
I'll, get
you know,
bags.
right, okay.
So you understand, Mr. Coyle, what
Yes, sir.
the limits of what you can do, just so that we don't have,
Yeah, no problem. You won't see me again until I come back for a permit.
Okay,
okay.
all
And that
right,
will be to probably cut whatever falls next,
okay.
because they are dying like crazy.
All right, so we'll amend the enforcement order to include that additional, what we've discussed here
Okay.
tonight, and we'll get that out to you in writing. Okay?
Yep.
Thank you for coming in, we appreciate it.
You want to keep the pictures, or?
Some would be good for the file. If
You can have them
we
all.
can all right, we'll document
I
the
mean-
comments. Thank you.
I ain't gonna care what they look like once I get it cleaned.
Okay.
And if you have
Thank
any
you.
questions, always contact either Sheila, so that she can get in touch with the chair, just in case you have any questions. Yep, just so that you know, in case you have any questions, you can always contact us.
Thank you very
Great.
much for your time.
I think it's just this one here. I've written on the back of it, so I should say that one. That's where
Okay.
he had one of his paths.
Okay, thank you very much. All right,
So do we need to sign a new enforcement order form that was ratified?
no, you don't need to do that, we just need to amend the existing one. We need to
Oh.
document the file that we've voted to ratify it,
Ratify it?
and then we're gonna send out an amendment on it. what we
Okay.
agreed to. How long can you?
What do you want to do next?
Well,
We got left.
I told Julie I'd probably be back about 8 o'clock, so.
What can I ask, is Miss Halliday coming in, or is she?
no.
Good night, Patrick. Thank you for coming.
Have a good night.
Okay, who else? Somebody else is here, right?
Gentlemen, are you here to address the board for a specific project?
It's relative to the National Grid issue. Did the board
Yes.
go out there?
Did anyone go to check that out, Kettle
I
Brook?
have not been out there.
No. Unfortunately, we have a bare quorum tonight, 3 members aren't here. I said, we only have a minimum amount of people here tonight, 3 members that were going out. 2 of them were going out and they have not been out, or we don't know if they've been out because they're not here. But we have not been to the property. Did someone contacted you, I guess, to get the exact location of the tree issue?
I can draw you a map, or I didn't have enough time. I can sit down and draw you a map, exactly where it is.
I think that would be helpful because members were confused about where exactly to go. Is that something that you could email to the office? Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right, if you could do that, that would be very helpful. Right, that would be Sheila.
That would be me, yeah.
So if you could email it to her, that would be great.
They're cutting down, they started in the middle of last week,
Right.
at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Wow, early.
The ordinance in town, that they couldn't make any noise until around 7.
Yeah, that I don't know. You'd probably need to check with the building commissioner. I think he'd be the code enforcement person. That's Nick Antanavica.
As I woke up at 6 o'clock, there's chainsaws in the backyard.
Yeah. I would, if you contact Ms. Conroy, our clerk, she can direct you to Mr. Antanavica. He has control over those types of issues, we do not, the time that they start working.
See, the thing, one of the things I was looking is if you go onto where the bridge is and you look, there's two towers. The second tower is way up on a hill. I own half of that hill. About half of the that hill. That hill is about 70 feet from the water up to the top of the hill. And the tower is up on top of that. I don't know why they need to cut the trees that are down at the water level. There's 70 feet plus the tower is another 30 or 40 feet. There's about 100 feet there. There's no trees that are growing up that high that are going to fall on the power line.
Well, they're clearing to put up new transmission lines, they're clearing their right-of-way. That's what they're doing. But, so if you could,
We're going to put in the center of those towers, they're
Right.
coming 45 feet towards Nancy Drive, putting a pole,
Right.
a donor pole, and then going 90 feet from there, you're cutting all the trees in. Well, 45 and 90 is 135. They are only allowed, their right-of-way is 125 feet, or 250, but 125 from the center of the tower.
yeah, see, I'm not familiar with how wide their right-of-way is, but I know that that's what they're doing, so. Why don't, if you can get that, if you can get us that, printout of exactly where it is, that would be very helpful. Okay?
But like I say, they're 10 feet over what their right-of-way is.
Okay. Maybe Mr. Antanavica can help us with that
Yeah.
as well.
I mean, you can come to my house and I'll take you and walk around. Another way to go is to go down Rockland Road to the end. There's a little turnaround there. And at that turnaround, if you look to your right, that's where the big tower is. And you can stand at the tower and look right
Okay.
down into that valley and see the bridge at Old Farmville.
All right. We will do that.
That's probably the best way to go and look at it.
To Rockland Road, okay. All right.
Rockland Road Court.
Rockland Road, okay.
Now, what's your address again?
My address is 18 Nancy
Nancy
Drive.
Drive.
But the best, like I said, the best way to look at it is to go drive right down Rockland Road,
Yeah,
towards,
to the turnaround.
and then Rockland Road Court is right off of that.
Jogs off.
Yeah.
And you go to the end there, and there's a little turnaround. It's a dirt road.
All right.
You just get out of your car, walk to the right. I mean, you can't miss the tower.
Yeah.
It's only probably 40 feet away from the edge of the road. You walk up there and you can look down into that valley. And you see when you look at it, you can see the Kettle Brook. And it comes down, it hits the hill, and goes around it. I don't live right over here. And like I said, I don't see the reason why you don't shut it down because it's way allowed.
All right, so if you're going to send us that, we'll take a look at it, but, you know, there is a permit that's existing on that, so I'm not sure how much we can do. But,
I know. There's a permit. I talked to a couple of
yeah.
my neighbors. They were never informed me.
All right,
They were never informed me.
so you're going to contact Mr. Antanavica about the other issues, right, about the right-of-way? You're going to contact Mr. Antanavica about the right-of-way issue and about the,
Starting early.
The ordinance, the noise
yeah,
ordinance.
the noise, starting at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, that's what you wanted.
Thank you. Sorry you had to wait.
That's all right. I don't mind.
Okay, just to run really quick, on the Halliday situation, she contacted Adam Burney relative to her situation, and she still is in dispute with a decision that we made. and she's
Maybe
supposed to
till
getting,
then anyway.
she insists that DEP can't believe that we're requiring all the things that we want, and she's supposed to be getting contact information of who she spoke to at DEP so that I can contact DEP.
Have a good night, thank you.
Good night.
Have a good one.
Okay, 273 Washington Street, did we give it a time limit on the enforcement? Oh, wait a minute, that was the one where they have a...
Right.
Did we hear from them about the recording of the order of
I
conditions?
heard from, I think Kyle Haltgren,
Yeah,
and I'm just waiting till he's gonna send me something.
okay. So they're gonna send us the recording at the Registry of Deeds and a
Yes,
copy of the...
that's right.
notice?
Yeah, they're gonna record it and then send me a recorded
Okay,
copy.
all right. Okay, on the Pappas Rec site, you got out that letter to Bill Coyle about the acceptance of the wet pond and the 2 swales in exchange for the
Yes, I
detention pond? Okay. Has there been any response?
No.
Okay. Where do we stand on the wetland, the bylaw regulations?
I'm still, haven't had a moment to get them done. They're just about done.
They're just about done. Do you
Yeah,
think you'll
it's
have
just,
them? Do you
Michael,
think you'll have a draft before the next meeting to look at?
yes, I should, yes.
Okay.
Michael sent me some of his corrections that I couldn't make out, and I got those done, and there was just one little thing I had to look up. DEP's website, it wasn't anything special.
Is Mike going to be here for the next meeting?
I would think so.
Good.
Has there been any response to the enforcement order to Reliant Healthcare?
No, as a matter of fact, I got both of them back from Reliant.
You mean the
I sent
certified
them
mail
to
wasn't
the-
sent?
I sent, yes, it was returned. Somebody wrote Reliant on there. I sent it to the owner of record through the assessor's office. That's who I sent the enforcement order to.
Okay, well, we don't have Reliant Healthcare on the agenda, so we can't vote on taking any action on this. So if you'd please put it on the agenda for the 13th,
Okay.
we need to follow up on that. Okay, Rochdale Bridge Street, I thought at the last meeting, maybe I'm wrong, I thought we were going to take this off the agenda.
I believe, yes, it was something that we agreed it had been carried for a distance and it wasn't necessary.
It has been on the agenda for a long time.
Situation where it's been an ongoing issue and we were just going to take a look at it periodically. I think,
Did you get new vote to authorize the chair to hire consultant?
oh, yeah, Mr. Carpenter had an issue on about voting.
Yes, yes. This arose, as we know, from the item at the top of the agenda, which we met with the planning board. And
Thank you.
apparently there's some confusion at staff level, or I shouldn't say confusion, or there's a lack of awareness when we need to be included in a peer review. And rather than have the applicant suffer from this lack of awareness, my thought would be to allow the chair to speak with Mr. Burney and have us included in the peer review process so that it's all one bill. It's not just helter-skelter. You know, I think we have an experienced chair, she's well-versed in what she needs to do, and I know she won't abuse the authority, so I, for one, am comfortable with authorizing her to hire a consultant so that we can make sure that the peer review process runs smoothly for the applicant. You know, but that, obviously, it's up to the board what they would like to do. However, you know, it's not fair to an applicant to suffer from a lack of awareness or a lack of processing things appropriately. And like it or not, we represent the town. It reflects on us when these things don't go correctly, and we're on TV. So when people come in and they're unhappy, as they should be, because we're not following, you know, the smooth process, it's a black eye and it's an unnecessary delay for this board as well as the applicant. And as we saw with Mr. Massad's project tonight, the planning board is basically stalled because we're at this process. So we've spent all that time, the committee members have spent all that time reviewing the plan, and now we're stalled. And had we had this in the peer review, I think we could have caught it sooner, and it would have saved staff time, it would have saved board member time, both on the planning side as well as on the conservation side. And I just think, you know, this is something that I personally feel is essential to make sure that we are giving the applicant the best chance to get through the process in the shortest time while meeting all of their obligations under the various boards.
So my understanding that this is in place of like waiting to another meeting and having to
Correct.
vote on it, is that what?
Correct.
This is, okay.
To try to-
Again, the
to try to
applicant is
expedite the
paying.
Speed up the
process.
project.
The applicant is paying for a peer review, so we're
Right.
not, so it's not a matter of we're deciding a dollar figure. They're submitting plans to whomever the wetland specialist we're going to, they're gonna price it out. So it's not a matter of the chair saying, you're gonna get $5,000. It's a matter of the applicants and the peer reviewer to say, this is how many hours, this is what needs to be done.
I would just point out, Dan bringing up this issue was not something that I was where he was going to do, but it's just to point out the process to you so you understand. Typically, the planner, Adam Burney, typically initiates peer review on behalf of the planning board. Oftentimes, they forget about our piece, but they're relative to stormwater management, those types of things are an overlap in jurisdiction between the planning board and the conservation commission. And typically, even when I ask him to make sure that you don't forget conservation, Graves does not, they don't have a wetlands person on staff. So they will only review the notice of intent to the extent that they're looking at the regulatory part. They don't go out in the field, they don't verify wetland delineations, they certainly don't look at wetland replication protocols, any of that sort of thing. And there are times when that is needed as a critical piece of the peer review. And and Graves can certainly sub out the work, they usually use Ecotech to sub out their wetlands work too. But if it was a project that Ecotech was involved in, they would have to sub it out to someone else, and we could have input on that. But the point is that oftentimes they're well into the peer review process, and then we come up with, like this situation, where we really needed a wetlands person to look at this much more in depth on the Masad case. And that didn't happen until like a month into the process. And also, the applicant's gonna get a better price, I think, from the peer reviewer if they're quoting based on, like if it's planning, zoning, conservation, they're gonna give a better price if they're gonna review everything for all boards. I would think that the applicant's gonna get a more timely review and they're gonna get a better price quoted to them if one company is looking at the whole ball of wax. But I can't initiate that process because it's not my authority. So I typically wait until we come in and I have to ask the board, do you want to hire? So that's, that's what this is about, is to try to expedite the process and get the thing rolling so that people aren't waiting.
I would be in favor of that. Is there anything relative to that in the bylaws that we would be missing? No.
And I come at this from a different perspective,
This is a total
obviously.
individual.
Yes.
Right.
This is
It's like a board
just a
policy.
blanket, this is a blanket
It's
Like a
vote,
policy, right?
you know, so that the chair, whoever that chair is,
Yes.
so
Right.
whoever that person is in the future will have that ability to do it. But we know ourselves, the committee process can be cumbersome, and it initiates delays. I mean, we had to wait how many weeks for a check, and, and it's going back to them, and it's just layers, so. I would make a motion that we authorize the chair to, as part of the peer review process, authorize the planner or relative staff, whoever that person may be in the future, or his designee, or their designee, I should say, to include conservation in the peer review process at the beginning, or just include it.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Thank you very much for that. There's just one last thing I want to bring to your attention. It was brought to my attention earlier today, and this isn't something that we have on the agenda, so we can't take any action on it. But if you recall, back in June 12th to be precise, when we initially started with the Masad Family LLC project on Faith Avenue, we had two filings before us that night. First, we had a public hearing on the request to amend the existing order of conditions to include the work that was actually done there versus what was permitted. And then we had a separate filing on the notice of intent for the new roadway, which is still before us, that we met on earlier with the planning board. The night of June 12th, we closed the public hearing on the request to amend that order, the original order of conditions. We never voted on it. We never took an action, we never made a decision to accept it as an amendment or not. Now our 21 days have more than lapsed. So now we are tardy with a decision, and Ms. Washburn indicated to me on the telephone today that she spoke to the applicant about it, and the applicant is aware that we are tardy, but does not intend to appeal to DEP, but we still need to clean up our file. So I'd like to have this put on the next agenda so that we can vote on whether we're going to amend that existing order of conditions or we're not, because we need to clean up that piece of the file, okay? So Sheila, if you could please put that on the agenda. That would be great. Does anybody have anything else?
Before we just leave that, it might be timely to, I'd make a motion that we send a letter to the Director of Development and Inspectional Services apprising of the Conservation Commission's action tonight, so that he's aware that he can contact the chair when he, should he have a question about whether we need to be part of the peer review or not. So he knows that he can go to you for a quick answer.
Okay. So is that in the form of a motion?
That is my motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so voted.
I'll make a motion to adjourn, as we have no other business, Madam Chair.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. Thank you very much.